Oh my God. All right, we're ready to party.
Now we're ready to party. So I'm going to read the nice, formal, beautifully written bios in the book to introduce this family and make sure I get all the details right. I'm sitting next to Ted Eron's son, Dr. Joseph B. Eron, known as Joe, who is an internationally recognized psychologist noted for contributions to family therapy, received his doctorate from the University of Illinois, and founded the Catskill Family Institute in Kingston, New York. He and his wife Susan recently located from Woodstock to Piermont, New York. Ted Eron's daughter, Elizabeth Eron Roth, known as Liz, received her master's and EDS degrees from Rutgers. She's an award-winning art teacher at Bragg Elementary School in Chester, New Jersey, honored for bringing out the best in each and every child. She lives in Princeton, New Jersey. This evening is dedicated to the memory of her husband, Daniel, and Allison's father, who missed being here by about...
And supported us throughout.
Supported them throughout this whole project. He died in December. So this event is in his memory. And Liz's daughter, Allison Sarah Roth, a granddaughter of Ted Eron, graduated from Wilkes University in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, with a degree in communications. Lives in Denver, where she's the studio coordinator at KDGY Architecture and Planning. I can't be the first person who stumbled over KDGY. Good to be here. So this is exciting. How many people had heard of Ted Eron before the email went out? Okay, so we've got the cluster here, right? And until I saw the announcement that this book was coming out, I hadn't heard of Ted Eron, but my house is full of Ted Eron's stuff. The products are everywhere. I just didn't realize it, that I was living in Ted Eron's world. Yes. So I just wanted to ask you guys, so just quickly, Ted Eron lived from 1916 to 2002.
Yes.
And was born in New Jersey and had homes in New Jersey mostly, offices in New Jersey, offices in Frankfurt, London, and you're seeing this astonishing array of products that he designed, and packages, and products, and also posters and magazine illustrations. He had an astonishingly prolific and varied career. Can you guys tell me, whoever wants to start first, about his humble background in a Lithuanian immigrant family?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. That was a part of the book I really wanted to get in there. It was about my grandmother, who had a lot to do with inspiring Eron and Eron industrial design. And the story that she grew up with us, and she was quite a force of nature. And she believed in her sons. And she came here, and actually when I was writing the book, I started to realize, like, really what she had been through, and it wasn't the way she was. I mean, she had left her family in Lithuania. She came here with nothing. She spoke half Yiddish and English. She could hardly, and yet she believed in Ted, and she gave them a little bit of money in the early 1930s, both her sons, and she felt they would be a good team.
So
and thus began Eron and Eron Industrial Design.
So there were four sons?
There were four sons.
And one
My
died.
middle name is after a son that she didn't talk about him very much. That was the way it was. So there were four sons, 4 years apart. She lived to see, as I said, a lot of things. She was astonished by the astronauts. I believe we had memories of her seeing before a little black and white TV set. She didn't talk about Bernard, who died. That was the first. And I thought about it when I was writing the book that, if she had come to see the polio vaccine, he would live. So she had a hard life, but she didn't act like she did.
So two sons went into partnership, right?
Ted.
Yeah, so when did how did Ted get the idea in his head that he should go to the Cooper Union, do you think?
That's a really good question. Liz has some of the interview with him at Cooper Union.
Well, he felt he was so incredibly fortunate to be accepted at Cooper Union, and he just raved about what he learned during his studies there. He said that if he could just go there forever, he would be happy. That was one of his lines. And he, in order to make some money while he was there, he had a job doing sign painting in the Big Bear Market, which was actually the forerunner of the supermarket. So he feels that everything he learned began at Cooper Union.
And so Sadie's 3 surviving sons all served in World War II, right?
Yeah, they all did.
They're all away at the same time, right? Sadie's getting letters home from all over, right?
Yeah, she had, again, I hadn't really thought of this as a kid, but she had lost her husband. And then all 3 sons go off to war, Ted being the last. So Aaron and Eron had begun, and those who read the book will read about his window display designs, which began, and the sci-fi illustrations, the Pulp Fiction stuff was right at the beginning of their career. Then they all go off to war. And Ted is the last one to go. And he was very proud of the Liberty magazine illustration he did that's
going to be
prominently featured in the book.
I think it stopped running.
I think the slideshow stopped running. Was there somebody? Darcy's. We'll figure it out. Okay.
So Ted was already prolific and versatile even during the war, right? Between teaching art and making posters, all kinds of warnings for American soldiers about what not to do that might get them attacked by saboteurs in the war. He made them almost lighthearted. It was rather brilliant.
Well, he was a lighthearted person. That was the way he was in life. His war posters had that touch. So you sort of lost sight of the fact that there was a war going. In fact, you kind of lost sight of that when you hear him talk about his career. Because, they started their business during the Depression. And I was like, really? How do you do that? And your mother gives you a few bucks and you decide to start doing all this stuff, and which was already in pretty full swing before the 3 boys got back. Then they picked it up again when they came home. And I started to realize, but we don't need to get into that now, how the package design, some of that early work really foretold what was going to happen with the package designs. He just had this ability to draw people into the images he created. So people were coming into the stores that he did the window displays for, drew people into the store.
Like shoes and all
Like shoes, all these shoe displays. And then we realized when we did the research for the book that set the stage for something we didn't even know he did, which was this architectural design, which he designed Aspect stores. And Tom McCann, we didn't know that he did that.
So Abbott and Ted come back from war and continue Eron and Eron. And can you explain that Abbott pronounced your last name slightly differently?
This was fun.
We were always confused as kids. Are we Eron or are we
What's her
Eron?
name?
So my Uncle Abbott and his whole family called themselves Eron. We called ourselves Eron. So Abbott, who was part of the business, would answer the phone and go, "Oh, hi, I am Abbott Eron from Eron and Eron."
So where were the offices located in the early years, right after World War II?
Well, we learned from that actually they opened their first office right after he graduated from Cooper Union, near here. So it was near Cooper Union, and then he moved up to this area. Then when we were kids, they had an office in Englewood, New Jersey. And then they built their own office in Cresskill, New Jersey, which is near where we now live.
So what are your earliest memories of the office?
It was a very friendly place. We would go in there and basically what I remember Joe and I would just like eat all the foods in the packages that he was designing. That's basically how we remember our childhood. We thought it was just like anybody, just like this is what everybody does, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
it was like being at home. The office was an extension of home. It never felt like it was,
How far from the house was it?
well, in Englewood, it was, 5 minutes drive
Something
away,
like that.
10 minutes drive away. And
Right.
then Prescott really, it seemed like we had moved like to the other side of the earth, which is actually 10 minutes from Englewood. So,
But our dad never separated home life from work. So it was, that's, that's too much miking going on here. No, but he, it's just his whole personality never changed between family and work.
But he was always sketching, right? He always had.
Always creating.
Right.
He would keep a little notepad by the night table all through the years till the end. Writing little notes or anything. He was constantly creating. And he would spend as much time creating something for a family member that he would for doing the package design. It was just, he was so passionate about it.
Oh, and which one of you wants to talk about his beloved wife, Selma? They were inseparable to the end.
Darling Selma, I
Their
think.
tombstone says Ted and Sel, Sel and Ted, right?
They were inseparable.
I think Liz should speak to it. Yeah, their tombstones read the way my mother wanted it, Sel and Ted, Ted and Sel. They were kind of inseparable. And then we came up with a line of their lives are a celebration of the things that
The matter of beauty, love.
and together.
And she was artistic as well, right?
She was
Yes,
quite artistic.
My mom took a class at the New School in Batik, never had done it before, and she was so inspired that became her thing. And she loved it. She had her art separate from my father's. She ran a gallery, not ran a gallery, but was part of a gallery in Montclair, selling her work. So she had her art as well.
And the business was booming by the 50s or so, right? Who were some of the big early clients?
Actually, it seems from doing the book that the business was booming during the Depression. Because he talks about doing the Liberty magazine cover, and there were all these jobs coming.
You want to describe that cover with?
Does anybody remember flavor straws?
Oh, yeah.
That was like, we love flavor straws.
They were always around.
And,
Yes.
it was like, you put these straws in, it was actually pretty
Wait,
terrible.
did the straws,
Worst thing for you health-wise,
did the
right?
straws have a flavor?
Yes, each
Yeah.
one, chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, and you'd see
You
them on
have
the
to be
outside.
our age. So, yeah, we changed the flavor. It tasted terrible. The product was failing, and then we find this article that says, package design rescues a company.
Right.
So literally, the redesign, which showed you what actually the action of the straws, that was what Ted was doing, made $4 million for the company, bailed it out of bankruptcy. And he did this over and over.
So what advertising was a white Protestant, maybe a little Catholic world at the time, that these two Jewish brothers are involved in it.
Yes,
Did your father ever mention anti-Semitism in the office?
I don't know anything about that. I'm not
Well,
joking.
they did to me.
Oh.
Abbott, I was talking about this with my cousin. I hate to admit it, but I think that's where I got a little aggressive as a youth. He said, you gotta watch out for that stuff. You don't let anybody call you anything. The other thing that they didn't talk about very much, but I think was part of it, was that they were not part of the Madison. They were not really madmen.
They weren't the men, they weren't men.
So they presented to the madmen.
They presented to the madmen, and they had this kind of attitude, even though they were very low-key, that they wanted to work with the company executive. So there was literally, we didn't know that there were such things as company executives. Because we would be
To interview someone in your family who played, I want to say, like a significant role in your life, or it was a year-long project, and it was either a pass or fail. So you got the whole year to interview and talk to a family member. So I picked my grandfather, and that's how I think was the whole idea. I had really no idea at that age what he, I knew he did Reese's and Elmer's Glue, but the more I talked to him, the more I saw how prolific he was and how expansive his talents were.
Did he have a dogma for why a design worked or why a design didn't work?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, well, I started to figure it out. It wasn't that obvious. Let's see. I would say the formula was that the design, there was an aesthetic part. There was the use of color, but it was pragmatic. It was like, how does the design needs to communicate the identity of the product and the company. And if you look at some of the designs in the book, they're extraordinary. Like even, I noticed the ice melt, the seal test one that I like, the snowman. The seal test is in the brim of the snowman's hat. You'll know what is, Reese's is a great example. The serrated cup, the colors draw you in so that and he'd convey what was inside the package.
Yeah.
So you
See
could
it on the
tell what
outside.
was happening here. Summerman's, I thought, was extraordinary that one. And then many others. So I think it had a lot to do with why they were so successful. It was a concept.
I think you're actually on the page
I'm
in the
on the
book.
page.
Yeah, he kind of laid out what, like a roadmap for marketing
Yeah.
and what makes sense and what would
Right.
bring a customer in.
Yeah.
So let's see. So some of the things that he bullet pointed, so it says the answers to the following questions will serve as an objective brief for a package redesign program. Does the package clearly identify the brand? Can the consumer relate this brand to other products in the line sold in different sections of the store? And he has about 10 of these that he thought through every time he would create
Right.
something.
Is it of the time, but
Right.
not too of the time? So it doesn't, is it going to age well?
Yeah, does the
Specific-
package
endure?
communicate
Will
the
it
product's
endure?
advantages?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's, he definitely laid out how it should be done and put in stores.
Did you as kids realize that you were walking past your father's designs every time you went
No.
to the store? You didn't realize?
We were
We just
teenagers
ate-
during the
we just
explosive
ate
era of
this
his
stuff.
products. We
Would you
really,
say-
no.
Oh, so you didn't walk past Elmer's and point it
Well,
out to
yeah.
your classmates?
We
or-
just thought everybody had the father of the Elmer. I don't know. It's just, and we partake of the products. It was mostly we ate a lot of junk food.
Yeah.
That redesign thing, we have to credit our editor from Glitterati, who was fantastic. That was really like just something he had written on a sheet of paper.
Wait, what's
That we found,
Yeah,
the archive,
something that
just
we
found
found.
it.
He didn't publish
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
and she said, "Oh, that should go in the book." And I'm
Yeah.
going, "Oh, really?" And she's-
Did he have all kinds of, did he take you to museums? Did he have all kinds of books around that he was clipping things from? Or was it all coming out of his head, do you think?
Oh, gosh.
A combination, I'd say. I mean, we were always, he was always, he did take us to a lot of museums, and he was mainly interested in Impressionist art, post-Impressionist art. Cezanne was his favorite painter.
But not pop art, not Liechtenstein, no one riffing on
No,
these
frankly,
these sharp
to
edged
be
bright colors,
honest,
right?
he wasn't too
Fond.
fond of that. So we kind of grew up with this distinction that he made between commercial art and fine art. Fine art being what he had hoped to do.
Pink.
Yeah.
And I think in doing the book, we came to realize that, wait a minute, the commercial art is fine art. It's all art. Warhol, the basis of pop art, you could say, would be his
Supermarket art.
what I call supermarket art. So he shaped the whole, he's one of the people who shaped the whole movement in art, and he would downplay that. He didn't. My friend Nancy at the Art Suite Gallery, remember when we went to the Warhol exhibit?
Oh, with Ted?
No, not with Ted,
just
but it was
us.
very interesting to see,
Yeah.
because we knew what was in the book, and like the TED panels that are in the book, look like Warhol panels.
Oh,
Except that the TED panels are basically presentations that he made to companies with
Right.
18 different versions of a design. And it was sort of astonishing, like 18 different versions. How do you do that? It was all hand done. And he would just do it.
So he didn't sort his, he didn't sort the archive, he didn't tell you what to do with it.
No.
There's no chronology of the clients. There's no neat sifting into, here's Schrafft's, here's Colgate, here's.
Well, Joe did a great job of connecting the dots, between, because he had so many different eras of art. I mean, it was the war posters, it was the science fiction illustrations, it was early illustrations, paintings, shoe displays.
none of which you even knew?
Not really, not really. We discovered a lot. It was a treasure hunt.
Yeah, because as we were doing the book, we kept finding more and more, and we wondered when it would stop.
It was.
That's why it took us so long to do the book.
It was that's why we credit Glitterati, because this was this was an intricate book to put together with all the visuals.
And I think that's why we wanted to do it, the three of us, because I don't think anyone else honestly could have.
Yeah.
And we wanted to be a family project, and they wanted to write it, and I don't think we could have hired a photographer, because honestly, 8 years later, they would have adoption papers, and they would be a part of the family. It took so long.
Had to be. Well, it was a family.
You photographed
She did everything.
And
Yeah,
then for Glitterati to
so
choose
we kind of
what
had a routine. I mean, I don't even know how long it took, but I was essentially living in their basement. I set up a photo studio in their basement. Googled how to create a photo studio and bought all the equipment, and then yeah, my mom would put everything in order. I would photograph it. We would upload it to the computer, label it, categorize it. I mean, there are just so many steps.
Yeah, it was constant communication between the three of us, because I would find things, I'd send them to Joe, and then it would just sort of all connect together. Like, I get so excited, like, Joe, do you believe you did this? Are you kidding me?
And Joe would say,
Yeah.
that's the prototype for Schrafft's, or that's probably at the
Someone,
time. Or
yeah.
no one
Stuff like
knows
that.
when he painted himself in a hammock, right? That's all
No, we still don't know
mystery.
what that-
Yeah, yeah.
There were a lot of throwaways. I mean, one of it's in the book, the pastel drawing he did of his friend Abraham Ratner, which we thought was fantastic. That was just in a
Just in a
drawer.
sketchbook somewhere or
And
something?
then
never,
we found out he invented things.
We didn't know he
We
invented
didn't know
it.
that he invented the double-sided pen and the
and
pump spray,
the pump spray,
and then a solo cup that has the handle on it. And we have the papers from the United States of patency. I don't know what the official document was, but he never submitted it, so he never collected on that.
Oh, he designed it but didn't finish
He didn't
drafting it.
submit anything, so he just sketched it, and I guess someone else.
Well, he tried to, there were a lot of inventions that they didn't really
They didn't claim, yeah.
didn't claim, like even like Ultraband. Does anybody remember
Yeah,
Ultraband?
with
It's
the-
yeah.
Right with
I mean,
the dome,
even
yeah.
that was-
Space age.
So he came up with, it should be space agey, so that's the 60s, right? The man landing on the moon, and his idea was he wanted to create a space helmet effect. The only problem was, how do you get the space helmet to work? How do you design it so it can dispense and he figured that out. Same thing with the band Basic.
Right, that's on the cover of the book. It shows him actually
That's what he's
inventing
working
the,
on.
So
I
the
see, yeah.
invention
Right,
followed,
right, yeah.
usually would follow the design. So he would be committed to a design. So he's got this sleek design of this Band Basic deodorant. The only problem is that he doesn't know, how do you make it work? So then he would figure out how to make it work. So he invents the pump spray dispenser, and then they try to get a patent. And nothing really happened.
Yeah, nothing came about.
But he didn't brag? He didn't-
never. He was the most humble man you could possibly,
He didn't
No.
point out Elmer's to everybody?
No.
Right?
No. No, we really had
We
no
found
idea.
most of the things he did after he passed away, like we didn't know.
that's why we really just wanted to recognize him, because he was such a humble man. At one point, he did, it was an art show he did in memory of this famous painter. And he had all his artwork up, and Edward Albee and a couple of other authors were there speaking. It was like a whole event. And the next day, Edward Albee is coming into to the art, looking at all the art, my father didn't even go over to him. Didn't even tell him that I'm the artist that did this. He was a very humble man.
He was a great MC.
Yeah, he liked
He
that.
introduced everybody and then went into the background.
And I think that's also why we wanted to do this book, because, I mean, he did so many things that nobody would know about, so we wanted to shed a light on that and show people all, you know, what a genius he was.
Mhm.
What have been the reactions so far to the book?
I think a lot of people love the part of, looking at the packages and saying, bringing them back to the day. Like, I remember using that shampoo or something like that. So I think it's taken off.
You know, or, right, I had forgotten what a cigarette ad looked like.
Right.
Since I had seen one in a magazine, I'd forgotten what
We have
cigarette.
boxes of
Oh,
old
we have
cigarettes
boxes
from
of
the
cigarettes.
19th
I have to tell you, cigarettes were still in the packages.
He was a
saved
little
everything.
embarrassed by that.
He would cut out the packages, like the covers. I had a whole manila envelopes filled with the package, the wrappings that he did. He just
I know
saved
it's a
everything.
tremendous number of, we only showed a fraction of them.
Yeah.
So Raymond Loewy, and I can't really say that I know, Raymond Loewy did the original Lucky Strike. There's a whole
Right, that's it.
story about it.
Mhm.
I think Ted did more designs for American Tobacco Company than did Loewy. So people know of Loewy, but they didn't know of Ted Eron.
Yeah.
And what was it like to collaborate with the publisher on these spectacular, I'm looking for
Very smart. Huh?
It's such a fun design when you
I love
guys,
it.
when you
It's-
guys leaf through it. The
You know-
bright colored page backgrounds, everything. It's really, what was it like to see the page proofs?
Well, I have to tell you, as soon as I saw the layout, which I am just thrilled with, and the font and everything, I said, I think my father had a hand in this. I honestly feel like he was one of the authors and one of the designers, because the panels of color and everything in the book just reflect his artistry. Yeah, very happy about that for sure.
And do you have a plan for what you want to do with the archives someday?
Anybody have any ideas?
That's why we've invited you all.
You know more about this.
Yeah, you would know more about that.
It's in her basement, yeah. So,
Well, now, the archive is still in the basement. Yeah, well, Cooper Union, we've made some contacts. There was an interest, which we'll follow up on in the design archive.
And so you also have his paintings too.
Yes, our house is full, filled. Joe's,
Describe what he did after he retired from commercial art, which was fine art, actually.
that was his one foot in Paris. He
Yeah.
loved painting. And so that's what he did through his whole retirement, paint.
But he also painted, we kind of realized, I don't know how he did all this stuff, but he pretty much did it his whole life. So he was painting, even while he was doing the commercial art. It was only through some of the interviews that Liz and
his
Allison
last
and we even
painting
knew about.
was of his caretaker.
Right, his
He
character.
was 85 and pretty sick, and
And
it
in
came out
failing-
And I
beautiful.
thought it was a pretty dynamic portrait. That was his last portrait.
Portrait of his
He had no
character.
business being able to do that. I knew how sick he was.
Yes.
His
Yeah.
last painting was of Josephine,
Yeah.
and his first
Painting was
painting was
up
of his father, Joseph.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
it came full circle.
Yeah, that was my concept when I realized
From
that.
Joseph to
that
Joseph.
The book would take you from Joseph to Joseph.
Do you want to describe the foreign offices that he had? He had Frankfurt and London, right?
Frankfurt, we don't know a whole lot about. I don't remember visiting there, but he did a bunch of products, and we definitely remember London, and we would go over there a fair amount. And Allison actually took a photo. Didn't know
Yeah, in
you
college I
found
went
the office,
there,
right?
and my mom gave me his business card, so I just went looking for it. And it was a newly renovated office building that no one was sitting in and tried to.
Soho section.
Yeah, so,
And a cool place, and we would go there. We thought that was kind of normal too. And they would take the whole family over.
It was always a family.
So we would go on the ocean liners and, we'd be in London. And for a while, they were considering moving there, but this was all before emailing and all this stuff, that it was difficult to maintain the connection between the offices. What I remember is that it was classical Ted and Abbott, because the way it got started was they talked to each other, and they said, hey, why don't we open up an office in London? Because we're doing supermarkets here, supermarkets are happening in London. That was their focus group.
Oh.
The two of them having a conversation saying, yeah, why don't we do that? So Abbott takes a ocean liner over to London and opens up an office. And I don't think I'm exaggerating, that's how it happened.
But they never wanted to work for anybody else, right?
No.
They never wanted to go in-house at any of these corporations, right?
I don't think so.
Would have
That
been
might
the
have had a
easy route,
little.
I think.
Huh?
I think it would have been the
It would
easy
be easy,
route,
yeah,
but they
yeah.
didn't want to.
They wanted to, they didn't talk about control, but they liked doing their own thing. I think. And probably it had a lot to do with their inventiveness. I mean,
Yeah.
they wanted to, it was really two brothers. And then they had people, they ended up, I mean, again, we don't really know the history that much.
How many people
Apparently,
worked for
like
them? Yeah.
Herb Llewellyn and Lou Dorsman worked for them. And then we didn't know much about that. So when I called Cooper Union, they said, oh, there's a Herb Llewellyn Center. I said, really? I think Herb Llewellyn worked for my father for a while. Oh. And, chances are, based on what we know, he might have trained Herb Llewellyn because that's what they did. They would have people working for them. And then they would teach them how to work within their model.
And did the way his designs appeal to people, did it influence your career choices to some extent?
That's really interesting. My brother and I discovered as we were doing this book and wondering what the legacy is, and we feel like we really learned a lot from our father. We had completely different careers. Joe's a psychologist, I was an art teacher. There was a motivational aspect to my father's work, and I feel that that's what I did with my students.
The
I mean,
connection, yeah.
my favorite part of teaching was actually motivating the kids, drawing them in as my father did, to the project. And Joe, and bringing out the best in each child and seeing, drawing it out of them and highlighting their strengths. And Joe's work is very similar. He has a motivational approach to his therapy.
That's what I
So
was
we
found
learned that from
interested
our
in.
dad.
Was what motivates people, what brings out the best in people, what inspires change. And I think we both held the same belief, which we felt came from him, that everybody has the creative potential to change
Yes.
their life.
And it descended to you,
Sure
too,
did.
right?
Sure did.
And
Yeah.
Allison has that.
And the patience to, how many photographs did you take?
Oh my gosh.
Thousands, right?
Yeah.
She has the tenacity.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I definitely, there was no question, I wanted to be a part of it with them, and I loved photography, and I still love it, so it was a great way to get involved. Yeah.
There's lots of design experts in the audience.
Yes.
And family members, I'd love to take questions, whoever. Yes.
Yes, I ask you about 3 questions. First question is this: have there any of the museum or let's say Cooper Union or some other school expressed an interest in having a gallery show of his work? I'm wondering if that's ever.
We're hoping for it. I
We
mean,
just connected recently with Cooper Union.
We would love that.
So hopefully there can be more conversations.
The second thing is, listening to your discussion has changed my perspective, because I hear you as a designer, but in the broadest sense, it sounds like he was an important contributor, particularly in the post-war years, to American culture, some
Yes.
popular culture. I'm wondering, how that really, not so much the artwork as the response to the artwork, how that made a difference. I'm wondering, did you cover that in the book? I haven't read the book.
Well, that's a really good comment. I don't think we realized it until we started doing the book, that the book kind of takes you on a tour of the 20th century. And that there was a sense that our father had about the culture, always. So a sense he had about the culture.
About trends.
About trends in the culture. So even when he's talking about working in the Big Bear Market with his classical enthusiasm on painting signs in the basement of a store after I come back from Cooper Union, and he's talking about what he learned when he was doing it. And he says it was the forerunner of the supermarket. Then he and Abbott, we have quotes from some of their articles where they noticed that trend. And they felt that package design was going to play an important role, because what's going to happen? People are no longer going into small stores and talking to the retailer. So the visual impact on the shelf was going to be the way that that was going to happen. So they were aware of that trend. They embedded a lot of their work in culture, you know, like even the ultra band thing. I mean, that was space age kind of visual. The work itself takes you across the centuries, so we did see it actually in historical terms when we started putting together the book.
And the third question, since he's obviously a prominent person in the world of, what do you call it, advertising, commercial design, package design, did he ever have opportunities to work with some of the famous people that I've heard, you know, like Charles and Ray Ames, the architects like, I can't think of the ones where they're, Philip Johnson. Was there any, because I look at that thing especially, it reminds me
We were
of very
shocked
much
that he did that.
architecture.
We didn't even know he did this.
We had no idea until we were doing the book that he did an architectural rendering. That he
I mean,
designed
this came about, it was typical Ted that we realized was he did the window displays before the war. It gets noticed. He would always have people noticing things. Like even the Liberty magazine cover had a lot to do with how he got his wartime assignment teaching art in the Philippines. So we realized that the only thing we know is that the window displays were drawing people into stores. There's this 1942 article that we were so excited about finding that they talk about his unique approach to window displays. And then that gets noticed by the executive at ASPEC. That's how we figure it happened. And then somehow he gets the assignment to design the store itself. So I don't know where he got, frankly, the chutzpah to think that he could design a store. But we found the rendering, and it has sort of a, I don't know, it has sort of a 1950s Frank Lloyd Wright-ish.
Oh, if it were still up, the preservationists would be protected.
Oh,
right.
Reminds me strikingly of, I think I was Gropius or Menderow of his Barcelona Pavilion of 1929. It has a stripe in some of the wall, the line somehow reminds me of that very much.
What else do people want to know about this incredibly prolific, varied? Yes?
I'm an Israeli artist residing in New York for 32 years. I just bought the Elmer's book.
What?
People sell me a different one. I don't want the other one. I want the original.
Right.
Now I put a face to the product. There's so many products that I like. I'm not going to look, wow, I know design. And I think homage to him, contact MoMA or Whitney, let them give a retrospective show in his honor.
Do you have a connection?
I don't have any connections.
No, well, okay.
But I think it's worth exploring.
Well, we were pretty excited that the book itself,
Oh, the book's for sale at MoMA.
it's for sale.
The book is for sale at MoMA,
Very
so at least
exciting.
it's in front of the right people
Yeah.
every day. Right. Yes?
Two comments. I'm also thinking of the Museum of the City of New York. They have all sorts of quirky, interesting titles there, and that could be a place. But I wanted to make one comment because your parents, your family, always welcomed your friends as if they were part of family. And I remember distinctly Ted and Sal coming in, and we would go to listen to Alberta Hunter. We'd go to the Knickerbocker Cafe, we'd listen to jazz, we'd look at art. We were just so filled with this love of art. And it exuded all the time. And what it was with your family, I feel, was this sense of wonder. Like if you read about Leonardo da Vinci, it was his sense of wonder that drove him to explore. And your father was the same, and your family was the same. So whether it was psychology and human behavior, whether it was the family dynamic, whether it was art, it was life itself that they would play. He would play the piano.
Right.
I remember that. So that comes through in that artwork, which is what makes it so comprehensive and so life-changing in many regards. I mean, it's the old it's mindfulness before we knew the word mindfulness. So.
That's
Wow.
beautiful, thank you.
Yeah.
Really.
There's several people here who knew my parents because they would just be part of my friends group.
Yeah. No,
you know,
it's-
so, which is nice.
It's funny that an Elmer's glue can radiate a scent that Reese's can radiate. It's a wonder, but it's also playful, right? There's such a spirit of joy.
And that was
to
the
it.
way they lived their lives,
Yeah.
I think Gabriel's saying. I mean, it's true. That's what we grew up with, so we thought that that's
That
what
was
to do.
normal, yeah.
You know, and it, yeah, it was
Yes.
kind of the welcoming aspect of his personality.
So how old was your father when he retired? And you say, did he ever have a clue that his design would be so far, lasting?
Well, he retired we have a line in the book where his brother, Abbott, he comes back from London, and he was doing one of the interviews with us, and he said, the fun was gone when my brother got ill. So fun was important to him. That was the 80s.
Yeah.
He tried managing the business on his own for a couple of years, so it was the early 80s. And then he went on to, paint and...
Did you do around the world cruises where he would teach?
Oh, right. And he got these gigs doing, teaching art on cruises, so they started traveling around the world. And they had a good time. That was basically it. As far as the enduring nature of the designs, I think he knew that. I mean, that was part of, he had a whole philosophy and an approach. I don't think he realized when he did Reese's that it would be the 50th anniversary of Reese's now, and how many different products were probably spawned by that design. There's one TV commercial that I kind of go nuts over, because I watch a lot of sports on TV. I think it's a tennis bag. And you see the orange and the yellow crossing the screen. It sort of floats across the TV screen, and you instantly recognize that it's Reese's. And I'm saying, really?
That's why color was such an important part
I
of
mean,
colors.
you know the product by the visual impact of the color.
And I love the variety of tape colors in avocado and harvest gold and hot pink and tangerine. It's just finger on the pulse. Because it went into psychedelia even, right? He kept his finger on the pulse of people's changing tastes in color, right?
It's true, I don't think he ever dropped acid.
No, but he kept a sense of wonder without having to.
He did, without doing that.
Yes.
And that was actually one of the more interesting ones, was Mystic Now Colors. And they came up with the name.
Colors, And Sparvar, they invented that name as well.
They came up with a name, and they would usually, that was another signature element, was coming up with a concept that would then expand the product, so it would become a family of products. So Elmer's Glue All is a good example of that. They pitched the idea of doing a number of products under the banner of their design. Mystic Tape, again, seemed to be their idea. So the color was functional as well. Each color was to show a different purpose for the tape dispenser. People would think of tape as being
So expressive.
that's young.
Other questions? Yes?
Not so much a question, but this is very personal moment, so I would just like to thank the Elmers for the opportunity to be connected with this project, to be connected with the family in such a deep way. Because when I met Liz and Selma, I was their friend.
Yeah, he framed a lot of the art.
It's
Carrie.
They came to me as my employer, and I was dying for original art. I kept framing posters from cruise ships.
Yeah.
People bringing things that weren't even supposed to be framed. But when Liz and Selma came in with those Army War posters, and I knew that they were original because I felt them and seen the original touch, I got ecstatic.
It was so exciting.
My personal clients until we got the first show done, the retrospective in Woodstock. But just to see this moment now, I don't have words because I lost it. Some people have gone, and some have become very close. I used to hang out with her at the library. And then went on with this whole thing, and I'm just so happy to see
Thank you,
there.
Carrie.
Oh, Carrie, yeah.
Carrie's a major part, yes.
Thank you.
You
protected them, you played a role in the.
Oh,
in
he
the-
definitely-
right? In the
When we
image.
saw his first reaction, it was like, we're coming here all the time.
We had some
Yeah.
real stuff. I mean, I knew there was some talent there. I didn't know one of the products, and I started seeing that and stuff. Yeah, that really did it. And so this is just a part of the entire world. Design. So again, it's just a thrill to add my expertise to what was already there. And just to preserve it and protect it, now it's ready to go. We're going to do it when they want. That's all.
Thank you,
Well,
Kevin.
your enthusiasm definitely had a lot to do with how this evolved. You could say something about the pop art connection.
Because that really.
Oh,
I'm sorry, you had a question?
Yeah, just
Yes.
a quick question. Did your uncle Abbott, is he involved with the family, and are you talking to them? Are they as excited and involved in this project?
Yeah, my cousins, yes. Sadly, Uncle Abbott passed away in 1982.
Soon after he retired. yeah.
Soon after he
Yeah.
retired.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is a shared event with our cousins as well. They were the other half. Abbott Eron's the other half of Eron and Eron.
Yeah, we,
Here's Eron and Eron.
yeah, it meant a lot to us, and I said something about it in the acknowledgements. It felt like we'd gone back to the years with our Uncle Abbott, because as kids, we all grew up together. So that office was kind of a family environment.
And there was one summer when all of us, all the cousins, we went over while our fathers worked in London, and we went and we spent like 5 weeks there together with the cousins.
And Abbott was, you know, he was really an important part of this, and
Oh, yeah.
we hope that the book
Honors him.
honors him.
So there's correspondence from both of them, right? There's letter after letter, right in the files, there's
Yep.
all kinds of material
Yes.
from both of them.
Yeah, the articles that we found, both of them, you know,
Right.
contributed to, published numerous articles about their approach to design.
Other questions? Yes?
Just a quick one. I was wondering if you could tell us just like how long it took from the beginning of the project to the end. Just for perspective.
Were you born? In the womb, outside the womb.
Oh, I mean, it officially started in 2012. I think that's when we started working with Murda, up until now, yeah. So it's been about 8 years.
Years, I would say.
Wow.
And if you trace it back, you know, to the event we had, her report. And then, you know, we had no goal in mind when we did the event in our home in Woodstock. It was just to honor, it was 8 months after he died, and we started putting this stuff together.
So I'm getting the hook symbol from Rizzoli. So I want to give time for you guys to be able to, and we'll take, these guys will be here. They can take questions. I just want to give these guys time to sign and for all of you to look through this amazing book. It's just stunning.
I just want to send a big thank yous to Eve for moderating, to Mara from Glitterati, our publisher, Darcy, who's here from Glitterati, and all of you for coming. It's just means the world to us that you're all here.
Thank
for
you.
this special.